Hi, welcome to Heavy's Guide to Passing. I'm a coach here at Kart, and this is a guide that I use to help my students work on racecraft and getting through traffic. And we're going to have a look through this guide. We'll talk about some concepts that are used on the different turns here at Kart, and we'll look at some videos of this stuff in practice. The first thing I like to show people is how two karts can be traveling at exactly the same speed, and yet when they come into a corner, one of them ends up in front of the other. Typically this is where all the passing happens, on corners. It's not really about being faster than the other driver, although that happens quite often where you're a lot faster than the other driver. But what these two circles show us is that two karts running at exactly the same speed on traveling the exact same arc, one kart can end up in front of the other in respect to the corner. Now, this is the basic concept behind all passing and all types. There are different types of passes where you come out, you enter a turn inside somebody, or you exit a turn inside somebody, or on the outside. You'll end up at different positions on the track, and these positions give you a positional advantage, or what we call the preferred line over the other kart. So in this case, say where the kart's coming on the inside, it's able to get to the apex and stop this other kart from getting there first. So the key thing to note about these arcs is that imagine we have travelled in on straight lines before we've started our turn, and the red kart here is slightly offset to the right of the black kart. Imagine these two are right behind each other. The red kart now turns into the turn, begins its turn in like a full kart length before the black kart does. As it does this, we watch the front right corner of the passing kart in respect to the lead kart. Note that the second rectangle's here. And there's a point at which the front right corner and the back left corner are almost touching. At this point, we're in the clear, and the red kart can just run a straight line down the inside, or continue on its arc, and it's going to end up at the apex before the black kart can get there. So that's the two critical things here. You'll notice up here on this image where the red rectangle is slightly offset to the right of the first black rectangle, and as we move to the next stage, the red rectangle starts to come across the back side of the lead rectangle. See the relationship between these two. As we get to the next stage, the red rectangle is now inside the black rectangle, and this continues until we're side by side. At this point, and even this point, which is pretty much the same thing, this red kart could opt to just travel in a straight line and get a nice wide apex and all the while blocking the lead kart. So this is the basic concept that we're going to be looking at and how we can execute this, and you'll be seeing this theme repeated over and over again in different types of passing, where we set up an offset and then we move ourselves into a gap that gets opened up as the kart sets up for the turn. So let's take a look at the turn one pass. This little picture here shows this is a map of the front straight, and this is turn one, the left-hander. This is where the steel plate and all that is, and then we go right here off into turn two. The black rectangles here represent the standard line, a kart on the standard line, and the purple rectangles here represent that kart under brakes. So this is a standard kart coming in, braking to turn and rotate for turn one. The green rectangles represent the passing kart and the line that it has to take in order to get inside this gap here, and the red rectangles represent that kart under straight line brakes. Note that the purple kart brakes before the passing kart, so these red rectangles are further up. As we come into the turn, The green kart has created the offset right here and begun its turn in earlier. As we make our way down this line, we're watching the front right bumper of the green kart. The green kart is watching this front right bumper, and in respect to the back left bumper of the lead kart, and they're looking for this gap between the wall and the kart to open up. That's when they can run straight down the inside. You'll note that at this stage the black kart and the wall are really close. There's no way you're going to get inside of that. Yet as we get into this space, as this space opens up, we're able to run straight along and brake late in front of the line of the lead kart. So that's the general way in which the turn one pass works on a decreasing radius turn. And we'll be looking at this more in a sec. We'll have a look at some videos of this in execution and how it works. So now from this position, I'm going to pass them in turn one. So I offset to the right as I follow them, and I'm going to wait till we get about here, and I'm going to turn in early. Start crossing over early, and now I'm watching his bumper here and my front right, and I'm trying to match them, line them up so I get into this situation as this gap opens. And now I can just run down the inside. He's trying to come over, but I just run straight here and then turn in late. See, his kart is still hanging on the outside edge, but I have preferred line, so I come in just enough and I run overshoot it a bit over this way to push the front of his kart over here. And now he has nowhere to go. He either goes into that wall, or gets in behind me, which he'll do. And now I keep it fairly tight. I don't want to come over, because if I delay my entry, there's a high chance that he's going to come up the inside and T-bone me. So I keep it really tight here. And I'm pretty much set from here. I have preferred line into the next turn. So and he's behind me anyway. So if we go back a bit, have a look at that again. Set up for it. This works with very fast drivers as well. That's just a classic pass from the front straight into turn one between two drivers that are pretty much travelling at the same speed. The inside, on the outside, bit of a gap, and we turn down and line up the front corners and make use of this gap that opens up. Get on the brakes kind of late. Probably braking about here, sort of straight, and control the turn. Okay, the second most popular pass at Kart is the crossover pass. This pass comes up most often in turn 7. That's the turn as you come up through the back straight and you go through the sweeper. There'll be a left-hander, and then there's this right-hander. If you can imagine that. The left-hander is 6 and then 7. We'll be having a look at that some more in the video. In this case, the black kart here, we're traveling from the bottom of the page to the top. The black kart hits an early apex and shoots themselves wide, while the red kart comes in with a wider apex and turns himself down and gets on the inside and underneath the other kart. And there's different ways to make this happen, but usually people do this to themselves somewhat. And it's very common for a slower driver to come out of turn 6 and shoot themselves wide to the wall for whatever reason. Usually they've apexed early and shot themselves wide. And this is your chance to get over here, get wide, create this big space between you, and then close down and get into this gap here that opens up on the exit. So let's have a look at some video at how that plays out. And you'll notice again we're traveling exact same arcs, but you just end up way on the inside of the other kart as you come down onto the other turn. So theoretically you could be travelling at exactly the same speed and still pull this off. There we go. Here we go. Alright. Let's have a look at some passing. Now, these guys were fairly slow. We can see here we're approaching turn 6. We've got a driver that's running pretty much mid-track, and we can expect them to overshoot turn 6. So let's have a look. So the first thing you want to do here is you go a little bit wider than normal. You see here's a standard oil patch, and usually I'm over here. You can see how tight this guy is as we're coming in with it. Okay, he's going to early apex. He's going to botch this turn. So we go a bit deeper than usual with the intention of getting over here close to the apex. Now, you can see how far off the apex I am actually. Well, we see he's parked it on the exit. Very common in this turn. And now we've run over here. Well, I don't have much hope of holding the outside here, but if he's going to repeat this pattern, he's going to park it over here. So I run way deep. Look at the big gap I allow here, and I turn with the intention of getting in here just as this gap opens. There it is there. And there's the gap. Now keep in mind, I'm running at 270 pounds, so I'm not running that light at all. And now we can just run down the inside. We have preferred line coming into the next turn. Okay, here's another look at the crossover pass coming into the last turn. Okay, we've got very early apexes, very wide on the exits. Probably expect that to happen again over here. So let's see. They come wide. They've turned in slowly, and they're parking it on the exit. This is because this driver is not lifting. They're not trying to control their speed and their balance for this turn. So they're just they're using way too much gas, and they're pretty light, which causes them to just sail out on the exit. It's very, very common with new drivers. And now that I'm there, I have to be careful with this driver because they're very small and they're light. So, and I'm at 270 pounds. They're going to get a run on me. You can see here I'm in front of their kart, but you can see they're about to take off. So I make the outside of my kart touch the outside of their kart, and if there is any accelerated momentum, if they have any speed advantage because they're light, it takes it away. It actually gives it to me, and you can see we're having a bit of a drag race, and they're able to get the upper hand of me. Now I'm not pinching them in the wall on the outside, I'm just making the pods touch each other. And now I have controlled line. There's not much they can do. Okay, the sweeper pass. Let's take a look at this one. This is my favorite pass, but you don't get a chance to pull it off very often because it's kind of hard to do. This black line is your standard driving line, kart on the standard sort of line, and they have to, actually in this case they've apexed up here early actually, but they've come. You've got to get wide for turn 6. This is a sweeper coming to 6, and this here is 7. They've got to get wide and set up for the entry. So what we try to do is we run slightly deeper and we get ourselves slightly higher off the wall, like the pole, which allows us to come down and hit a super late apex. And normally you'd be apexing about here, and we try to apex later and get on this tight arc and come down on the inside line. Let's have a look how that plays out. Okay, here's an interesting pass. So I'm travelling at my usual pace, and I notice a driver up front going pretty slow mid-track through the sweeper. You can see I'm closing him fast. Well, at this point, what you don't want to do is just sort of follow them, because you're going to run into them. They're going too slow. So you come out wider. You can see I start making some adjustments to get myself out here. Now normally we want to be over here. This is our fast line. This left wheel is going to be crossing on that paint there. If we can't do that, we're just going to run straight into them. So we lengthen our line, get ourselves out over here, and now we start aiming to get inside the gap that's going to be created by this driver as they get to about this point. So we come down, we're aiming, we're like open up, and there it is. They open up, and there we are. Like, again, we're lining up the front left bumper with their back right bumper, anticipating that they're going to open this gap for us. And now, because they're going so slow and we're going so fast, we just run down the inside here and pretty much got them. Now the thing is, when you're in a situation like this, sometimes they're running a bit faster. It's not so important that you make this apex. It's more important that you just control the turn. So what I'll do is I'll run a little bit deeper, usually, and I've early apex and I'm shooting myself kind of wide, way wide. It's a terribly wide line, but that was just to control that line and make sure they don't get around me or hold it. If they do get under me over here, it's okay. I can block right here. If they're going to race me, I just park the brakes here. And it's an inside pass out of the sweeper into turn 6 and 7. Okay, so here we are again at the entrance of 6, setting up for this pass. If you're up against a more experienced driver, they're going to see all this going down. They're going to go, okay, so they're going to probably try to run a bit wider on the entry and to get a cross under it and come underneath you at this apex. So as we come through here, they're going to get wide and they're going to start appearing on your left side as we get to this point. Now, they're going to have two choices. One, they can sort of just run straight and pinch you off into that plastic, or two, they can get themselves a nice late apex over here and prepare for a cross under or crossover to get you over here as you make your right hand turn. So if you see them appearing over here on your left, you want to try to get yourself out more and start heading over towards this direction. That'll stop them pinching you into the wall, and it'll also allow you to defend any attempts to get wide and get a cross under, because you just get inside them and then just slow down and just make sure they stay outside and they can't get inside of you at all, and then you can turn down late and get a late apex yourself. So the other option as you get through here for most newer drivers is that they'll sort of fall in behind you and they're just going to point their kart directly at you. By about here, you're not going to see anything to your left, and you're going to know, okay, they're either behind me or they're on the outside. In that case, you keep running along the wall and you don't come out, kind of like we do in this one. We come out a little bit, but we don't open this gap enough for anyone to get inside it. In this case, if he does try to run along the wall, he's not going to T-bone you, and he's not going to, any contact with you is just going to help you. If you come out too wide and you delay this entrance too much, then you're at risk of someone running along the wall, especially a new driver. They're going to do this, or an aggressive driver who doesn't know how to pass, and they're just going to slam into you like they're in a bumper car and hit you big time into the side right as you get here. They're going to come down that wall and just bam, they're going to connect you there, and that's going to hurt. So so the counter is just to keep that tight and make sure they stay behind you. Well, that's the basic guideline to passing. We looked at the arcs and how we can have two arcs of exactly the same radius, and how two karts traveling exactly the same speed or even at different speeds, how the kart behind gets itself into position to take advantage of the line over another one. I'm going to finish out with some clips from different passes